when I was when I was 14, there was this youth camp that I would go to in the New Mexico mountains. And the mountain was very, very steep. It was at a 45-degree angle, sometimes steeper. It was very, very difficult to walk up and down. And it was very, very long. The whole camp was spread along this extremely steep mountain. So spread up and down. So you really got an ass workout and a leg workout, going up and down this mountain. But partway down the mountain, there was this, it would go off to the side, and there was this road, and it went down below what was this, essentially this pond. And there was this beautiful mountain pond. And when I was 12, I had been baptized in this pond, and when I was 14, I was wanting to go down and see the pond. Because I knew, because everybody had gone back to their cabins, everything was just so beautiful. And the camp, everybody had deserted the camp, so it was nighttime, and it was still, and the moonlight was shining down, and I wanted to go down the road, and I wanted to go to this pond, and I wanted to see, in the daylight, it's the sky on top of a sky, with mountains and trees around the edge, and so it's like this perfect mirror image. It's so beautiful. And I wanted to see that by the moonlight. I wanted to see the moon perfectly reflected in the water. And I wanted to look down into the same darkness that I was seeing in the sky. I wanted it to be just one big infinite universe. And I wanted to see that, and I wanted to spend time with God. And I told God, well, I want to go down and I want to see this pond, but I know I'm not supposed to go down by myself, but I kind of feel like I want to go down. And God gave me an exact, direct answer. I was walking along, and it was in the porch of where they had the mess hall, and I was walking along, and I felt a push from behind, and I face planted into the stone porch of the mess hall area, and I was by myself, so nobody was there around to come and get me. I had to yell for a while before someone heard me. And they came and helped me back up, because I was like face planted. In fact, you can see the scar on my forehead, right there. You can see that scar. I have a Harry Potter scar. It's really cool. But it is from this face planting, and there was no one around me. There was no one behind me. There was no one there. I was completely and totally alone. And you might have thought, well, maybe you tripped. No, I didn't trip. In fact, where my feet were, they were about 2 feet away. That's just notifications. Ignore that. They were about 2 feet away from the nearest break or crack in the sidewalk. So there was no way that I tripped and then went flying. I literally got just ignore that. I literally got. If I trip, I go straight down. I don't go flying. I don't do all these contortions in the air. When I trip, I go straight down. And I was a ways away from the nearest crack in the sidewalk or anything like that. Plus, I didn't trip. I didn't feel any trip. I felt a push behind my head and behind my body. And that push face planted me straight into the sidewalk. And when I recovered from having the air knocked out of myself because I was face planted in the sidewalk, it just knocked the air out of my chest. Sorry, I'm just going to close this so that I no longer get any more notifications on this. It's really distracting, isn't it? So, rather than thinking that it was just some freak thing that happened, I knew that was an answer from God. I knew that it was God telling me, no, don't go down there. And this, it was going to be a stupid idea anyway. I was going into the woods. There were bears around. There's all kinds of wild animals around. And if I had fallen, it would have taken me a while to get back up, and it would have been a really bad thing. But that night, it was one of the times when I could talk about it. I've had face-to-face encounters with God before, but I can't talk about those things. It's too out there. It's too much. But that's something that I could talk about with people. People understood that. People understood that that's what was happening. And I felt so blessed to be corrected like that. And to this day, whenever I feel the nighttime in the moonlight and the stillness, I think of how haunting that was back then, because it was so wild, and it was so beautiful, and it was so dark, and the moonlight was so beautiful, and I wanted to go down, and God prevented me. He physically prevented me from going down. And it was a really interesting situation. I thought I'd share that with you guys. I think, has any kind of miracle or protective device from God, can you remember something like that? It happens to us every day, obviously, but can you remember something like that happened to you? I would love to hear about it. Would you share it with me?